Hello everyone, this is Ollie and welcome back to What If Goku Landed on Mobius. Last time we covered the events of Sonic 1 ending off with Goku taking off from South Island and unknowingly flying straight towards his next adventure, which is this video diving into the events of Sonic CD, or well, Goku CD in this case. So Goku on his way home would pass over the continent or island that contains Neverlake, a grassy clearing spreading out for miles aside for the occasional rocky spire. Goku's mind would drift on what he was going to eat when he got home before he felt a shudder from his plane, looking down and finding his gas tank close to empty. He'd panic, looking around for anywhere to stop and fuel up, but it was nothing for wilderness till the horizon. And in desperation, he'd flick on his radio, locking on to the nearest frequency. The radio would crackle to life, the host sounding like a young boy with two young men arguing in the background. The host explained excitedly not far from Goku's location sat Neverlake, and that once a year a magical tiny planetoid aptly named Little Planet appeared above it, and that its time to reappear had come, but then his voice would drop an octave with hesitation, barely managing to say unfortunately, before the sound of the door being kicked in echoed through the mic, followed by a debt collector yelling, the radio cutting out soon after to Goku's bewilderment. He'd quickly shake off his shock, and from what the radio host had explained, Little Planet wasn't too far away and it was a popular spot. There'd probably be a gas station there, or at least someone nice enough to spot him some. Goku, quickly making up his mind, would push his throttle and start heading towards Neverlake, soon being able to see the Great Lake in the distance. Goku would look up expecting to see the green, luscious world the radio host had described, only to find Little Planet chained down to a mountain encased in a metallic shell. And on that mountain sat Eggman's mustache face carved into the environment. Goku would frown at the state of the Little Planet. He had let the madman go, and look at what he had done now. His own problems discarded for the moment, he'd land the plane near the water's edge and run towards the chain. He'd climb up the mountain before reaching the base of the chain. Looking up at his challenge, the Little Planet would stretch high into the clouds and Goku would let out a small gulp. Steeling himself, he'd launch himself forward onto the chain, it rattling under him for a moment before he used his tail to regain balance, standing perfectly still until the chain stopped shaking, then launching himself forward in a sprint up the chain. Goku would run for some time until he felt the gravity of the Little Planet start to pull him in, his world turning upside down for a moment as he started to fall. Slipping through the gaps in the metal shell, he'd land in Palm Tree Planet. The trees and rolling hills reminding him of Green Hill, he'd run through the zone, quickly destroying the badniks that had taken over the planetoid. Surprised that their power sources were no longer animals, but now flowers. It didn't matter much to Goku though, still making a point to destroy as many badniks as he could find. Making it deeper into Palm Tree Planet, he'd eventually run into a strange sight, a human-like badnik standing in the middle of a clearing. Goku running up to destroy it before he stopped in his tracks, realizing it resembled him greatly. It had the same hair and face shape, but its eyes were hard and narrow. Its skin was steel and it had no mouth to speak with. Instead of a monkey tail, a red rod jutted from its back, and rockets were built into its forearms. Goku stared bewildered at the machine. Had the doctor made a robot version of him? Goku, lost in his own mind for the moment, didn't notice the machine raise its foot up and stomp down onto a tiny bunny. Goku, remembering this thing was an evil robot, would tense up and lash out with a kick, only for his foot to pass straight through it, his eyes going wide for a moment before he realized it was just a hologram. Goku, quickly finding the projector, would smash it underfoot. A few animals peeking out from their hiding places started to circle around the boy. He'd flash a peace sign down at them, getting ready to leave. But before he could run off again, he perked up at a young girl's voice. Turning around, he'd find a young pink hedgehog in a short green dress and green shoes, pointing a toy mallet at him. She'd look at him suspiciously, asking if he worked for Eggman. Goku would shake his head no, saying he was only here for gas, and got tangled up in the doctor's shenanigans once again. The girl, not believing him at first, would attack Goku, the monkey boy treating it more like a game than an actual threat to his safety, before jumping away from her, landing and then rushing her at full speed, feinting a strike. The hedgehog girl would flinch, closing her eyes and using the handle of her Pico hammer as a shield. After a moment of waiting for the strike to connect, she'd slowly open her eyes to find Goku right in her face, sticking his tongue out at her, causing the girl to yelp and fall back to the grass. Goku would tell her once again that he wasn't working for Eggman, and with some vouching from the animals around them, she'd start to believe him before she noticed the monkey tail poking from behind his pants. She'd ask if he was the hero who stopped Eggman at South Island, and Goku would scratch his head nervously. He hadn't known people knew he was the one who stopped Eggman. He'd say yes, but he wouldn't call himself a hero. He just didn't like what Eggman was doing, and breaking his machines was fun. Her face would turn from pink to red in embarrassment, profusely apologizing for attacking our hero and telling the boy her name, Amy Rose. Goku Goku trading his name back and tell her not to worry about it, and would move to finally leave, but she would stop him once again and ask to come along with him. Amy would explain she was searching for another hero. Her tarot card said that she would find them on Little Planet. When Goku asked why she was looking for this person, she could only blush and plead to join him. If her hero was really here, then sooner or later he'd cross paths with Goku in their fight with Eggman. Much to Amy's delight, Goku would nod. It couldn't hurt, and it didn't really seem like she was going to take no for an answer. The two would run through Palm Tree Panic, Amy able to keep up with Goku, albeit behind him. The two getting farther into the zone until they ran past a strange signpost with the word future written on it. Goku, having seen a couple of these posts already, would ask what they were, and Amy would explain that these signposts were part of Little Planet's magic, in that if you hit the signpost with enough speed, it could trigger time travel, sending you into the past or future of Little Planet. Goku would nod and then jump up and punch the sign, making it spin rapidly. Amy watched on, flabbergasted at the vandalism, shaking the monkey boy as soon as he landed and asking why on earth he would do something like that. Goku, very confused, would ask what he had done wrong. He just had to hit the signpost to give it enough speed to send them to the future, right? Amy let go of the boy with a small laugh. Before she could explain how the signpost really worked, sparks appeared around them. The word future echoed in both of their heads before they were warped into the time stream. Landing, Goku covered his nose almost immediately. The pleasant smells of Palm Tree Panic were gone, replaced with rust and decay as they stared into the future corrupted by Eggman. Amy lamented the destruction of the zone's life. Before the two could find a way back to the present, the two heard a laugh, Goku looking up to find Eggman crashing down in the Egg HVC 001. Eggman would be annoyed to find the monkey here bothering him once again, but would ask if they liked his new future. He boasts that once he got the time stones, he turned the whole world, not just Little Planet, into this. Amy yelled that they wouldn't let that happen, and Goku would charge forward, but his attacks would be blocked by the mech's bumper arms. He'd realize that attacks from the front were pointless. Rushing forward once again, he'd slide under the mech's feet and then attack it from behind. The machine, not being able to take much punishment, would fall apart, the Eggmobile flying high away from the monkey boy, and where Eggman felt safe, he couldn't get smacked again. Seething in rage, he'd click a button on his machine and yell down that his loss meant nothing in the grand scheme of things, and he'd teleport away back to the present. Goku would walk back to Amy while she considered the man's words and explained to Goku that she didn't think the man was bluffing, and that beating Eggman now wouldn't do any good with how he had messed with time. And if he were to get the time stones, it'd be game over for the whole world. Goku would ask what they should do then, and Amy would guess Eggman had done something in the far past to cause this bad future, and they would agree to look around in the past. Quickly finding another signpost, this one saying past, Goku would jump up and punch it, sending them into the past of Palm Tree Panic. A much more primal version of the tropical paradise, the harsh smells of the future gone. They'd run around and find fewer badness in comparison to the future and present, and animals roaming around before Robotnik had taken over, quickly finding a machine that created badniks, a small contingent of them guarding it. Goku and Amy would make quick work of the badniks before destroying the generator, leaving a small field of flowers where they stood. They'd head back to the future to check their work, finding a good future, technology and nature blending together naturally. Amy would be ecstatic about fixing the zone, and she'd make Goku promise to help her look for the rest of the robot generators and the time stones. The two searching the rest of the zone until they found the warp ring. Goku, already familiar with the rings, guessed the time stone would be inside and touched the ring, not explaining any of this to Amy, the girl watching in shock as the boy just disappeared from sight. Goku found himself in a special zone, still trippy but much less headache inducing than the last special zone he had been in. The moment Goku got his bearings, he felt himself start to move forward, and he could not stop himself from running, while strange machines flew around him in random patterns. The idea to destroy the UFOs flashed in his mind as he sped towards one and smashed through it, feeling himself gain speed, making it harder to turn and control his trajectory. But Goku would quickly get the hang of it, destroying the UFOs one by one until he smashed the last one. With the last UFO destroyed, he'd finally be able to skid to a stop, a flash of light covering his vision before he'd reappear next to Amy holding the green time stone. He'd show it to her, and then the two would celebrate before heading into collision chaos, repeating the same steps there, going to the past, destroying the Bandit Maker, and then returning to the present to find the warp ring. The two falling into a comfortable rhythm just as Goku let his guard down. A metal fist slammed into the side of his face. Goku fell, holding his mouth as he looked up just as Amy yelled for help. Goku finding that metal double of him floating in the air, holding Amy by the neck. The copy would just float there, staring at Goku with its piercing red eyes. Its thrusters expelled yellow gas, making it seem like it and Amy were standing on a yellow cloud. Just as Goku got up to fight the machine double, it would turn around and fly away. Goku would curse and chase after Metal and Amy. Running through each zone, he'd make good futures and collect time stones just as he had promised. Eventually, Goku would reach the Stardust Speedway, tearing through the Twisted Zone until he came face to face with his mechanical double and Eggman himself. In this timeline, the iconic Speedway had been warped and rebuilt into the Stardust Stadium for Eggman's purposes. Eggman grinned and formally introduced his ultimate creation, Metal Goku, built a copy and surpassed Goku in strength, speed, and skill. In short, anything the original could do, it could do better. Eggman had even taken inspiration from the same myth Goku's name had come from, giving the robot a red extending tail and flight capabilities that resembled a cloud. Robotnik would then offer the boy a challenge, defeat his machine in a fight, and he'd allow the monkey boy to save the pink rat. Metal Goku nodding along, almost excited to prove its superiority over its organic counterpart. Goku of course would jump at the opportunity to save his friend, his heart racing with excitement at the challenge. Eggman would cackle at Goku's acceptance, raising the Eggmobile above the fighters. He'd slam down a button, a modified laser firing from his craft, forming a laser cage around the pair. Oops, did I forget to mention, ringouts are sudden death. Goku's heart rate would spike once again. He had to finish this quickly and then figure out a way to escape the shrinking ring. Dropping into a stance, Metal Goku would mirror him perfectly. A moment would pass before the machine rocketed forward with a devastating high kick, Goku barely getting his arm up to block before the strike slammed into him, the force of the blow reverberating throughout his entire body, leaving a nasty bruise. As Metal pulled its leg back, Goku pushed through the pain and lashed out with a strike, only for the machine to catch it, while the laser cage tightened around them. While on paper Metal Goku was more skilled than its organic counterpart, unlike Robotnik, Goku actually understood how to fight. The doctor, seeing martial arts as beneath him, didn't spend much time actually programming the techniques into his machine, leaving Metal Goku's skills looking more like a messy, mismatched data dump than the world-class fighter had been advertised as. On top of that, its rigid design only made its movements clunky and lumbering. Goku meanwhile absorbed every move and attempted and threw it back with far greater finesse. Without realizing it, Robotnik had given Goku the best possible sparring partner, another him. The fight escalated as the arena shrank, both fighters beginning to show wear and tear. Cuts and scrapes littered Goku's body, while dents formed across Metal's chassis, sparks spitting from its cracked visor. The two would slam haymakers into each other's jaws, the momentum of the battle shifting in Goku's favor. Eggman, watching this, would grow nervous, yelling at the machine to drop the useless theatrics and just finish the boy. Goku would look up at Robotnik, losing focus just long enough for the machine to sneak in, a brutal knee to his gut, crumpling him, followed by a hook that floored him. Metal Goku would jump away to make space, landing and cupping its hands at its waist. The thrusters in its forearms folded inwards, re-emerging through its palms as yellow and orange energy crackled around Metal Goku. The original looked up as the laser cage closed in, leaving no room to dodge left or right. Instinct kicked in and he jumped up, Metal Goku thrusting its palms out. A blazing orange beam erupted out of the replicant, Goku barely able to maneuver himself so he didn't get hit dead on, only getting clipped in the shoulder and chest instead of getting vaporized. Part of his jacket and shirt burned away as he landed, gripping the bleeding wound and slowly pulling himself up while Eggman laughed. Metal's palms would return to their normal form, its thrusters smoking as it glared at Goku. Just as Goku steadied himself, the machine would charge him once again, slower now, the beam having drained it on top of its accumulated damage, allowing Goku to slip under Metal's strike and then dodge the follow-up tail swipe, grabbing it and spinning the robot around, Metal detaching its tail before Goku could hurl it into the laser wall. Metal skidding to a stop and looking up, only to find Goku cupping his own hands at his waist. Robotnik's eyes narrowed and widened as impossible blue light swirled between Goku's palms as he unconsciously focused his ki. Goku would yell that the doctor had said that anything he could do, Metal could also do, so logically anything Metal could do, Goku could also do. He thrust his hands forward and the blue beam would erupt out of him. The machine would stand there, frozen, unable to compute the data in front of it and be caught full force by the beam. The blast, rough and improvised, barely had enough energy to damage Metal, but it did have enough force to blast him back into the laser wall, destroying him on contact. Robotnik would curse at the destruction of his machine while Goku would pick up Metal Goku's detached tail and fling it upwards at the Eggmobile, the staff smashing into the laser projector on the Eggmobile and shutting the cage down. Goku would glare up at the man and Robotnik would glare back, briefly considering attacking the boy in his damaged state before thinking better of it and fleeing back towards his final base, Metallic Madness Zone. Watching the doctor flee, Goku would laugh weakly, his bluff having worked. He could barely stand, let alone fight the man. But still, he'd limp forward towards the end of the arena with his new staff in hand. There, he found Amy tied up and cut her down, the girl immediately hugging him and fretting over his new wounds. Begging him to rest, Goku would refuse at first. Robotnik could just undo everything he had done with time travel if he took too long. But Amy's pouting face was enough to get him to relent and rest for at least a little while. The two would sit together and Goku would tell her what had happened while she was gone in his fight with Metal Goku. The beam attack both had used reminded Amy of an old story she had read long ago, something about a turtle hermit, or was it a king from a tropical island? She couldn't quite remember, shaking her head and suggesting the name Kamehameha, Goku immediately liking it. Amy would ask if Goku had run into the hero she was talking about, but Goku would shake his head no. She would be dejected at not finding her hero, but she'd still be happy that Little Planet was free. Amy would ask to see the time stones out of curiosity, and Goku would move to hand them over. The stones would post lightly in Goku's hands as he handed them over to Amy. The girl would gasp and Goku would look down, finding his clothes restored and his wounds gone, and he felt incredible. Looking under her shirt, the only thing that was left was a faint mark from Metal Goku's beam. The time stones had reversed the damage on his clothes and fast forwarded the healing of his body, giving him a solid Zenkai boost. Barely being able to sit still from the rush of energy, Goku would shoot up and wave goodbye, sprinting towards metallic madness, Eggman having no idea the boy was now far beyond anything he could have realistically prepared for. With the Kamehameha and Metal Goku's extending tail in his toolkit, Goku would tear through metallic madness. Eggman would wash all this through his security feed and be dumbstruck at how Goku had gotten seemingly multiple times stronger for no reason. Robotnik, not willing to roll over and just take it, would attempt to fight the boy in his final machine, the egg spinner, and just get low diffed, I'm gonna be honest, and be forced to retreat in a heavily damaged Eggmobile while metallic madness collapsed behind him. Goku would rush back to Amy and help her off Little Planet, leaping high into the air and escaping its gravity, landing back at Never Lake. The chain holding down Little Planet would break and the metallic shell would fall away from the planet, the time stone slipping away from Goku's grasp and returning home, the past, present, and future now free from Robotnik's influence. The two would watch as Little Planet began to float away, stardust forming in the shape of Goku's face. The stardust slowly raining down on the two of them in the biplane, Little Planet slowly flying away until it was out of sight. And Goku would remember the whole reason he had even come to Little Planet in the first place. He'd panic and go check his gas tank to see if he could at least fly anywhere before his tank was empty and find that his tank was full. Little Planet had reversed time on the biplane, restoring it back to the moment before the gas had ever been used in the first place. That debacle now off his mind, Goku would walk over to Amy and apologize for not finding her hero. She'd wave it off. He had tried his best, and besides, she had found a hero. And Goku would rub the back of his head bashful. He didn't think he was a hero, he just didn't like what Eggman was doing. Fighting his machines was fun. Amy would give him a strange look and then laugh. The boy was strange but kind. The two would trade goodbyes and Goku would hop back into his biplane ready to head home until it hit him that he didn't really want to go back to Christmas Island. At least not yet. Fighting Eggman had been the most fun he had ever had, and he had finally met two people that he could honestly call friends. He'd stare off in the direction Eggman had fled. A guy like that probably wouldn't quit even after something like this. After a moment, Goku would grin and slam down on the throttle, sending his biplane roaring into the sky and chasing after the doctor in his next adventure. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this part, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Every little bit helps.